All right. Quarter 2 start. Again, focusing more on how we get this awareness and attention into the body now. So, super real fast review of yesterday. What do you pay attention to when you're exercising? The biggest thing here that we pulled out is that it's music, and just the thought to reflect back is, if you have to make a special playlist and listen to pump up music while you're exercising, do you really like exercising? So we don't have to have a discussion about that, but I really want you to kind of consider that. If I have to do all this stuff to amp myself up to get something done, maybe I don't like it in the process of it as much as I thought. Okay. And yeah, that's basically the big idea from that assignment. So let's go to today's. So looking specifically at a push-up, about a fourth of you say you can't, and 3/4 of you say you can. And so before I get started, if I jump to the bottom and say, well, how do you get better at a push-up? Right? Notice the answers. So lots of practicing. And the question becomes, how do you get better at something you don't know how to do? What does position mean? Do you remember from yesterday? Position and posture. So posture tends to be how you orient yourself when sitting or standing, so vertically against gravity, typically, basically where this rib cage is in space. And where this rib cage is in space will dictate where the pelvis, et cetera, is in space. So posture is vertically oriented. Position can start to take into account laying down, flipping over on the side, leaning over a bench, okay? So position is how you are orienting yourself in space in general, and posture is a bit more of that, just how are you, if we consider, I don't even want to say rib cage because it's the whole system, but how am I orienting against gravity at rest, sitting or standing, okay? So if we look at this, how does someone get better, right? I get a lot of effort. There's a lot of trying. Even this person here who tried to write the instructions, counting, taking their time, keeping track, right? Is it the same for everyone? As a teacher of physical education, I can say that the same instructions don't work for everybody. The same understanding doesn't work for everybody, right? Repetition. But what if your repetition is inefficient? What if you're making things overly hard? If you're looking at exercise, the big picture is this: how do I make the easy things more complex so it's interesting? And how do I make the things that are too hard more simple by breaking it down? Okay, give you a few more. Again, a lot of practice, a lot of trying. We'll get push-ups and kind of what that means in the intent there, right? Generally, you have less weight in your arms, but again, if you could still get a knee push-up absolutely wrong. Making something easier doesn't make it more correct, if there's even such a term as correct. Okay, so let's go back up to that top. All right, what do you pay attention to? A lot of folks saying posture. And again, I'm assuming that posture in this case means where my ribs are. So am I doing a push-up with my chest down? Where's my head? Probably. Or is my chest caved back? Posture for a lot of people as well might mean, in reality, their position. What does their body look like? A lot of things of my arms, but what about your arms? There's a whole bunch of stuff in these arms to pay attention to. What is it about your arms? And do you consider the shoulder blades as part of your arms, because I will show you shortly that they are probably the most important piece happening within your arm. Okay. Now, interesting analysis here. Only one way to do a push-up. Most of you are like, no. However, there's only one right way to do a push-up. All of a sudden, 30% are like, yes. So this is where I would like you to interact a little bit, please. What's the right way to do a push-up then? 30% of you, somebody of the 26 or 7 here, have to understand and had to be one of those that said, there's a right way to do a push-up. No takers? Is it the recording? My dog is underneath me right now. She's free, but we're recording. So I'm just gonna, hopefully she doesn't pee on the carpet.
I'm gonna put my 2 cents here.
Please do.
When it comes to there's only one way to do a push-up, I can't remember what I answered, honestly.
Okay.
But I do think that in terms of your position, whether you're doing like knee push-ups or not, as long as you have like your arms positioned the right way and you get down low enough, I think that pretty much counts. Because no matter what your strength level is, you're building on that.
Okay, fair. So you're saying no matter how long your body is, your pivot point is, as long as you're getting down far enough and your arms are positioned the right way, we're going to dig into that a little bit, then you're going to be fine. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so perfect. So the big picture here is that there's a certain depth that makes it effective.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. All right. Thank you for that. We're going to carry on that in a second. Now, this is going to piggyback this next version. I can tell if someone else is doing a push-up right. 2/3 of you said yes. 1/3 said no, they can't tell. But when I asked you about yourself, I can tell if I'm doing a push-up right, that number jumps up. So what is the difference between somebody else and yourself as far as observation and noticing? The answer, I think, is feeling. I can feel certain parts of moving. Okay, so that is a big, and I need you to remember that. Talk about, again, someone trying to tell you what to do and not acknowledging that feeling. Right? I tell the story often of the varsity football player that weighed about 130 pounds and he was squatting like 330. And I was so impressed. I was like, where do you feel it? And he took his earphones on and he said, I don't know. You don't know? You don't know? You're doing this amazing thing and you're just doing it? Right? Can that be problematic? Something to consider. Okay, so if we then look at getting better at push-ups, I'm going to give you an even simpler version. This is Bailey. Baby will probably be underneath me and messing this up. But if I want to get better at push-ups, I'm simply going to be on the ground a little more. Who can tell me why? Why is simply getting on the ground, whether it be sitting or laying, why might that help you get better at push-ups? No takers? I eventually have to get up, right? So again, we being society, we took the ability to get off the ground and we made it an exercise. So if I want to get better at push-ups, number one, I could practice getting off the ground enough. And number two, we can look at the simply holding the position. So if I was going to go, you can see that okay. If I was going to go to my knees, right? There is a difference in a knee push-up being this, where my butt's the highest point, and being this, where my ribs are the highest point. Which version do you think is going to be a more quote unquote effective push-up? Ribs up, butt up. What's your guess? Somebody please answer.
I would say the push-up where your butt is higher, because you're putting a bit more gravity against your shoulders and you're trying to push yourself up a little higher. But that's just my science brain talking. That's my science brain talking.
Yeah, no. It's a perfect brain now. And I would say to a very large degree, you are correct. If here allows me to actually load and put, if I use my ribs to push down on my arms, can be effective. But if my butt's in the air, watch me think backwards. My butt's in the air and I pull myself back, now my load is on my backside. So if my butt's in the air and I pull my body forward and I use my ribs to load, now I'm actually adding resistance. Okay. If I want to make the push-up more plank-like, right? What are people's problems? Because a push-up should be a moving plank. So if I take the plank position, which most, right, kind of fail at, they end up being this like saggy bridge. Let's put my knees down. The first thing I need to get rid of to make an ab exercise is my shoulders. So I'm going to drop my chest so my shoulder blades are touching. So from the camera version, I'm going to be doing this. Shoulder blades are coming together. Let's show that again. Right here. Good. I'm going to find my up position, but I'm going to sink my chest and get my shoulder blades to touch. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drive through my knees and lift my hips. So now that lower abs, now that bottom is planking me. And from that plank, I can do push-ups. So the answer that everybody hates is it always depends. Now again, would you say that the body is a full body move? I'm sorry, is a push-up a full body move? I think you're the only one talking with me, Andrew, today. So if I could please ask you again, is the push-up a full body move?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay, I would agree. If the push-up is a full body move, couldn't I change anything in my body to make it different? My head, my elbows, my knees, my belly, my feet.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you're saying, oh, okay, how do I do this correctly? I would argue that there isn't a correct. The idea is, what are you trying to use the push-up for? If I want to make it more shoulders, right? Then I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to get that butt really high in the air, and I'm going to load this way. And what I am doing is I'm replicating an overhead press. If we've heard of the diamond, if I want to work more triceps, I put my hands closer together. This is your tricep. If I want to make it more pec and chest, my hands go wider, shoulder blades together. I also can look at where my arms are. The higher up they go, the more stability that I have to have in my core. The further down they go, the more it changes. Again, look at the angles. Hands, right? Gripping, flat. Is there rotation happening? Right? If I try to do a push-up and I have elbows out, which is most people, I'm going to crush here, I'm going to crush here. I'm putting my bend away from my weight. Now, if I want to work the shoulders, I'm going to do it that way. If I want to rep out on push-ups and make them move more lats, elbows in. If I have wrist issues, I need to adjust how I'm using. A lot of people will be saying, okay, you just do this. You do push-ups this way, which is fine, but you don't get at the wrist issue. You're changing the move to accommodate your weaknesses. Why not look at the weaknesses, right? If I have trouble pressing, maybe I need to add rotation. Maybe I need to work my hands not in push-up in different ways and see where I'm finding issue. Last variation, if I kind of combine some concepts from here to here. If I turn my hands around, tons of pec. So again, I question that there is a perfect push-up. It depends on what you need. Wanted better at push-ups instead of practicing something you don't know what you're practicing. It's like playing the drums and being like, I think I'm learning it. I'm doing it 20 times a day. Can you set yourself up on the ground more often? So you simply have to get up. What's more functional, getting off the ground or doing a push-up? I would argue I probably need to get off the ground, more importantly, than do a push-up perfectly. Stop share. Stop record.